Welcome to another episode, and I would like to bring one of our esteemed guests here live with us. We have Mitch, the father of Ryan, gold medal world record Crouser. They're both Crousers. This is where all the athleticism comes from. I just want you all to know that right now. His mom might have something else to say about that, but we'll let him debate that. We'll let Coach debate that.
That was the best nickname you could come up with.
I was put on short
world
notice.
Record, Olympic champ, Crouser.
I told you all before, we can erase this as many times as we want.
I told you don't give him no nickname. Coach, thank you for joining us. It is actually a great pleasure to have you here. We just really want to just dive into what your perspective is on, this year, obviously for Ryan and the years, right? He's a world record holder, Olympic champ, world champ, all the things. Obviously very close to securing that Diamond League berth this, a championship this summer. A little, very close, but you can't win them all, and he has his ticket punched to Tokyo already. But just giving us a brief synopsis of the year and the last two quads, really actually, and now going into what will be Ryan's third Olympic Games, correct? Mm-hmm. What is your perspective heading into Paris on training and his from a both coach perspective, right, and a father perspective, because that is a very fine line that not many are able to tiptoe and walk and maintain, both relationships at a high level, from fatherhood to both coaching. So just give us a brief perspective on, on your philosophies as it relates to both your son and athlete.
Yeah, it's changed like over the years. I mean, with our journey or whatever started back in grade school and playing all sports, doing everything, went up through high school and then went to University of Texas and Rio, first Olympics, that's his first major. Yeah. And most of just, hey, you're a college kid, really lucky to be here. And it just going up to that one, you're so under the radar. There was no pressure. You're just, hey, you're lucky to be here at the Olympics. And as the last couple weeks was progressing, practice going really well, that, hey, you got a shot to get a medal, and by the last few days, you could win the whole thing. Yeah. And he held up under that pressure at the Olympics, which is not easy to do, and win. And going into, say like to Tokyo was the next one. So much different with the outside media pressure, where now you'd broken the world record before Tokyo, and it's changed and evolved. That I think they say, it's easier to get to the top than to stay there. I think that's very true, just because there's so many outside distractions, and so it's been a heck of a ride, heck of a journey. But it's been an evolution, just the whole thing as far as for training. And now his age, you're 30, you're not a college kid anymore, trying to stay healthy. That's the biggest thing with the whole game right now.
Speaking of health, extreme adversity this summer with the blood clot.
Blood clots,
yeah. Going into World Championship. Talk about that a little bit. For you as a father, was that nerve-wracking, boarding that flight, knowing that, hey, man, this is unknown territory for me from a medical standpoint and for him?
Yeah, nerve-wracking and just frustrating on both of our parts, where he had broke his own world record again earlier in LA, and he had not even unloaded all the way. So kind of, hey, what might be coming by the time of Budapest, and went a couple times to Europe, and his last meet over there, London, throwing 23 meters, and comes back, everything, you're 3 weeks out from world, this is going to be good. And literally the day before we were flying, we were going to do an early training camp in Slovakia.
I know. I was doing the legit. I know.
Andy, his physical therapist, his calf, he comes back from London and had a great practice that week. Everything was just looking really good. And calls the next morning, goes, I can't walk. And I go, what? We're just, he goes, my calf, something's in my calf. And so then is it partial torn Achilles, torn calf, whatever, going in and doing all this physical therapy and tests, doing ultrasound to say how much muscle damage. Well, there's no muscle damage. Mm-hmm. And so you're doing everything for all physical, but it's not getting any better. And it's just a day is going by, 2 days, a week, 10 days. Well, as an athlete, you're within 20 days world championships. You don't want to be laying in
You're
bed.
only dealing with a splinter, let alone
and he can't even walk. It's just the day before we were supposed to leave, and Andy, his physical therapist, goes, just want to make sure we're not dealing with any kind of blood clots. It's going to be really dangerous to travel. And the ultrasound, if it had been really a severe blood clot, would have shown. But the ultrasound is more for muscle tissue damage. Right. And so they did Doppler imaging. And as soon as they do it, oh, Jesus, this is bad. Yeah. And he's got 2 blood clots. And so then going on the blood thinners and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I heard he had a quite unique journey to actually getting to Budapest. I heard they broke up his travel quite a bit.
Yeah, we did. It was delayed, and then it gets to be, are we still even going to go? Because you have the risk of flying. We're within a week of the competition, and then now 2 weeks of doing nothing essentially for training. How much do you still have in the tank? So they changed the flight. So we went just in case there was a problem on the flight, because they just kind of lay out here, hey, here's the odds.
These are the risks.
Here's the risk. It's a percentage that if you're flying and it moves, that here's the chance that could happen. And here's which I didn't realize, that if you do have a blood clot move, what a high percentage of a fatality. If it goes to your lungs, it's about a 50% fatality. And so really an eye-opening deal for that. So anyway, we went from Chicago to Vienna because the hospitals in Vienna were like the best for dealing with any type of blood clot dealing. We drove from there to Budapest, so we didn't get in there.
How long was that drive?
It's not that bad. It's probably about 2.5 hours, so not crazy. Yeah. But
that's 2 big fellows, man, driving through Vienna to Budapest.
So it was just kind of the unknown, going into, we had 1 practice in Budapest. We really cranked it up, and you could see that, standing throws, a static start, stuff is down quite a lot from what it had been a few weeks previous. But technically, he was still good. He could still throw light stuff pretty well, and just, we just get in and compete, and let's see what you got in the tank. And he came through big time, especially with the adversity. That's what we were saying afterwards, that last throw. On that one, that was the best throw of his life under the circumstances, way beyond anything he had ever done to do that after missing all that training and stuff.
And speaking of technique, obviously Ryan is in a class of his own in the technique category. His technique is one of one, tailored to him. Knowing all the variables and adversity faced from the perspective of medical and, travel, coupled with the potential of what he could have done at the end of the year, do you think that, from a technical standpoint, there was, in a physical standpoint, a lot left out there? He broke the world record early in the year, the Grand Prix in LA, right? And, so it's safe to say that he's still going to knock a shot put through a wall here coming soon.
Well, you hope. But so much as an athlete, it's just out of your control too. As far as staying healthy, that's just half the game. You don't know how that's going to go, or you are, all peaked up. You get to, but it's raining, and there's so many variables when you're trying to do, take a shot at a world record. There are so many things that have to line up just so perfect for it to happen. I think a lot of it just don't, unless you've been an athlete, you kind of been there. Of just people realizing how perfect of how many variables line up to even make it a possibility. Right. A lot of it is just out of your control. You do everything you can to put everything in, in your favor, but some of it is just out of your control.
Outside your control.
How about say, I want to ask this. So I've seen across many platforms, many sports, various sports, there's this father-son dynamic that typically, if you ask me my personal opinion, I'd say the model has failed more than it has success. But when I watch you two, it's almost like it's beautiful to watch. But from the father's perspective, how do you know when to wear like the dad hat versus the coach hat? Or it's challenging. I imagine it would be. Maybe it isn't. And if it isn't, please shed some light on it. But
no, it's a difficult, and it's gotten easier the last few years now. My role has become easier, and it goes from as coaches, grade school, middle school, high school kid, you're completely in charge, you're doing everything. And I think the most difficult time is probably when he's down at Texas, and you're 18, 19, 20, and you're thinking you're pretty hot. You think you know all the answer, and you don't. And that was, I think, the most difficult. We really just button heads.
Because you were an athlete yourself, correct?
Yeah.
And so you competed. You gotta give us some. Come on, man. This is your chance. Brag on yourself too. We need to know about it. What did you do? Where did you do it? Talk to us.
So I was in college, shot discus. Then afterwards, I was on a couple national teams. So I was like 67 meters a few times, 220 discus thrower. And I had two brothers. My brother Brian was on a couple of teams for javelin. He threw over 300 with the old javelin. My brother Dean was NCAA champion a couple times, shot in discus. So we kind of came from a family.
So this family is a throwing family then?
Yeah, we came, my dad had started us back when we were little and stuff. So yeah, we had a lot of family history in the throws.
And with that being said, so one thing that you and I have had these discussions over the course of the past few years is financial opportunities and just opportunities for people who are very, very established in our sport. I know you work with Ryan, and we've had conversations about him, but whenever you and your family were competing, was it just as hard or difficult to obtain sponsorship, or have things changed, or what is the dynamic? What does track and field look like? What various changes have you experienced through your career and now seeing it through your sons?
I just, it's been frustrating for me. When my brothers, we were back like in the 80s, and it was so hard, trying to get a shoe contract and get a little bit of money, and it was always more those sprinters using up all that money.
Marathon is king, but that's all right. I got you.
And it's still, I just still see so much of the same, obstacles in the sport. It was 40 years ago. But the kids are still battling, and like at the top for Ryan, you're doing okay, fine, have your world record, Olympic, all the rest. But down at the training center, I went down there for years, working with kind of the next tier guys. That they're top 10 in the world, but they don't have shoe contracts. They're not getting, you're just trying, hoping you might get into a Diamond League meet. And, it's just tough. It's still so tough financially that, especially when you compare it to other, pro sports, whether it's NBA, golf, football, any of the other, there just is no comparison. Even though the athletes I think we have in track and field are as exceptional as any sport. When you go to the cream of the crop, the top in each event, they're as good as any of them. But the financial, it's not the same. Yeah.
So speaking to the evolution from a financial infrastructure perspective, to, then and now, right? How has your approach change, just to get back into the technical aspect of you as a coach from then and now? Because I've been afforded the opportunity of observing you and Ryan for a long time. I went to Kansas State. Ryan went to UT. So it was a little bit of, I think, of a carryover there. I think maybe his first year. I think I got him by a few years in college, but. We've watched you from a professional standpoint also. It's like you are aging backwards in coaching. You know what I mean? That's really true. Like it's like you're watching you age backwards in coaching. Like, so how has that experience been for you?
Yeah, it's just been an evolution. For me, I guess the biggest takeaway from myself when I got done with my track, I had injuries and stuff. My biggest takeaway is that, man, if I did okay, but if I had known in the beginning what I knew at the end, and with my brothers, the same thing, kind of with injuries and stuff, that, God, I could have been pretty good if I know. And that's what the biggest takeaway for Ryan is, that I tried to kind of help build his career of how important developing technique early, and with such an emphasis that, hey, down the road, we'll get big and strong, but technique was going to be everything. And then that has been an evolution in itself, in that when he graduated from high school, and he did good, he had some national records in high school and stuff, but it's a big difference going from the high school implements to the international, bigger than what I thought it was going to be, too. I knew it was going to be a challenge, but it was harder than I expected. But the evolution of how his body has changed, too. He was, 6'6", 6'7" in high school, about 225. Well, now he's 325. And that took 12 years to build that, but how the technique and things have changed as his body has changed, the implement changed. So it's really been an evolution in his feeling for movement, just that proprioception, is off the chart. That's his biggest thing that he has as an athlete, is his feeling for movement in the ring, where we have all of the TrackMan and all the filming and analytics that there is. And you can get all the data, and you go back and you go, I think what happened here was at the front, you're rolling off a little bit. And he just instantly, well, no, it did happen in the front, but it started at the back of the circle because I shifted left. I should have been about an inch more over. His awareness for movement is just, and it just comes from hundreds of thousands of repetitions. And that's what I really try to ingrain in him early, is everything. What did it feel like? What did that feel like? And it's just got to such an exceptional level now of what his feeling for movement is. And that's his greatest asset, is that.
Yeah. And that is a huge asset, being 6'7", 325.
How did you keep him away from the football field? I'm sorry.
Because he's light on his feet, man. He's a ballerina on his feet.
You're 100% correct. And the reason why I know that's true is, number one, two things. So first thing is, when he first moved to Arkansas, he was doing block starts and keeping up and beating some of the sprinters out the blocks. Now, first 10, all right, that like, honestly, as a sprinter, I was confused, but as an athlete, like, that's scary that this big man could catch me. If we played football and he hit me, I would die. So I'm sure the football coaches were beating down your door trying to get your boy out there. Were they not?
Well, he did up till high school. He played, but he was also way different body weight. He wasn't, but he was quarterback. He played quarterback all the way through.
He was a thrower.
He had a good arm, and that's what. So he was quarterback, and then
what?
In high school, his main thing was basketball. He had college offers, and that was his biggest time, what went into basketball. But he decided that in college he wanted to do just track. And he had offers at the end coming out of Texas after Rio. The NFL, I don't know how they got a hold of all of his number for like combine, vertical jump, long jump, all that stuff, and still don't know how they got access to all that. But he had a couple NFL offers.
I'm sure.
They wanted him for a pass rush specialist. That's what they wanted.
Didn't he do the dunk contest for Drake relays at one point too?
Yeah, he was. Yeah, he's done that. He dunked shots sometimes.
He windmilled, right?
Yeah.
Do you know how much he weighed at that time? This was probably, 2017, 18? How much did he weigh around that time?
He was probably 300.
That's ridiculous.
And the stadium shook when he landed.
That's ridiculous.
That's great.
This kid is an athlete. He's a freak athlete.
He's a freak. Well, Coach, it's always a pleasure talking to you, picking your brain on technique, and it's definitely a pleasure, seeing you grin from ear to ear when you get to talk about your son from, both the coaching perspective, but also the father perspective. And we appreciate you for joining us and taking the time to share a little bit of your insights.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate having you. It's been a hell of a ride. It's been a lot of fun.
We'd love to have you back, and I'm sure you'll give us a reason to have you back soon.
Yeah. We are. I'm waiting to see the Eiffel Tower shake from the shot put hitting the ground. So we will see you in Paris, Coach. Thanks for having me.
All right. Thanks, guys.